Hey everyone, welcome back to Sunday Brunch with Ben and Ned.
Thank you. That was
Thank you
awesome.
for bringing us in, Nhien. Perfectly done. Perfectly done. What are we talking about here in the second half, Ned?
So in the first half, and we'll link. What we do is do a link back if you want. If you missed the first half
That'll be right down here somewhere.
with Nhien Vuong,
Very good.
ministerial student, and we've talked about her ministerial journey thus far, and we're going to talk about where that's going, your calling, where you see your ministry, and I believe that's going to. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. Where do you see your ministry going?
You tell me. So I would like to know also. Well, I'm a year from graduating, as I mentioned earlier, and as backdrop, when I came here to ministerial school, I just had in my gut, I was like, I'm going there and then coming back home. I packed up my car with basically what belongings I was willing to keep, and then drove here, planning on going from here to wherever my ministry called me. So with that kind of openness as to, I don't know where I'm going, basically. So with that said, almost like, I think the day I arrived here, I'm not positive, but I just have a gut feeling that I'm going to stay here in the area. Yeah, I kind of knew that from the beginning. That could mean I leave for a few years, come back, whatever, but the village is very much home to me.
Does this have anything to do with finding a boyfriend?
I knew you were going to think that. Well, that just made it even clearer.
Right, sure.
You know, so what they're alluding to is the fact that I am getting married to someone who is from Kansas.
We can say hi.
Yes, hi,
Hey,
Victor. Everybody knows Victor.
Local artist and musician.
Yes, a conscious musician who's going to be in Unity magazine this fall.
Fantastic.
Nice,
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
I
Hopefully we
know.
can have him on the show as
Oh.
well sometime.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, your ministry and where it's going, how is that unfolding? What concepts or practices, components do you really feel passionate about teaching to other people?
Foundationally, prayer and meditation. Because to me, that's how you empower people, not with knowledge, but with something they can do at home, to access the divine within each person.
Absolutely.
So that's, to me, the foundation of ministry. Another component to it, to me, is presence. That there's something about simply being completely present to someone amidst anything. And with this dual vision of their humanity as well as divinity at the same time. And to me, that's core. That's core to my ministry. But the other piece that's kind of the fun and frills of my ministry that I'm very excited about, which you two already know about, is spirituality and the arts. That's, yes. And I say that like with this sort of wide-eyed, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Because as you all know, I'm a lawyer, and the arts was not a big part of my life. So what was practical was what was emphasized throughout my childhood. What could make a living, and so the arts is kind of a new thing that has arisen for me. That has because when I came here. No longer do I have lawyers as friends mostly, but almost everyone I know is a musician or an artist. So what this did is it rekindled that part of me that I had squashed down, and I somehow remembered that as a child I loved poetry. And I mean, I read poetry since I was a little girl, and I remember writing haikus when I was in 6th grade about eternity, and I was always kind of philosophical.
Zen master
Yes, I was
when you were just this high.
and then I forgot it. so yeah.
So poetry, as a practice of spiritual unfolding, I can certainly relate to that, and I could point you to my favorite Whitman verses, where he compares the poet and singing to the way animals howl and the way flowers bloom, and it's this natural unfolding and expressing of the inner divine urge, so to speak.
For sure.
And you've taught
Well,
people
sort of. Okay, I can tell you what happened. It was, so on Victor, my fiance's bookshelf with this book, Poetry as Spiritual Practice. And when I encountered this book, it just sort of like, that's what actually jump-started everything. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And I'm like, I want this, and I want more of it. And then I thought, who can teach it? Oh, Professor Brummett. He has poems that he includes in his books. He'd be the perfect person. So I approached him with the book. I'm like, I'm excited. Are you excited? And he seemed very excited about the book. And I was like, I'll help you however you want, but if you could teach this at ministerial school, that would be awesome. I think this would help us craft our sermons. But also, we teach that each of us, right, has this creative spark within us, but how often do I see, myself included, quoting other poets, poets from other non-unity traditions? How is it that we're not creating this stuff on our own? And so I'm exploring this with him, and he's like, oh, great, very interesting. And I said, I'll help in whatever way. I'll create the class for you, even. And he's like, well, great, if you want to do that, you should get school credit for it.
Nice.
So I ended up doing an independent study with Robert to create a class called Poetry as Spiritual Practice.
Robert Brummett.
Yes.
He's the best.
Yes.
They're all good.
He's
Shout
on the
out to
faculty here at
Robert.
Unity Institute and Seminary, and also my teacher advisor. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very fortunate to have him.
Poetry, like prayer, breaks us out of our mind, breaks us out of our logical thinking,
Yes.
and it allows us to tap into the infinite.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Poetry it's used in different ways. To me, when you read poetry, it has that element, right? That it's not about what it means, but what
where
it
it
does
takes
within you.
you.
Yeah. And related to that, there's a book by Kim Rosen called Saved by a Poem. And she was going through depression, I think suicidal depression. And she started not memorizing poetry, but learning poems by heart. So she would see a poem that she was called to, and then she would learn the poem. And in her learning, she writes about how there were certain lines of the poem that would be difficult for her to remember. And she realized that those are the lines that are calling her forward, that she needs to integrate.
Wow.
So as she learned these poems by heart, she was integrating its meaning into her being.
Right.
And now she has this, she doesn't consider herself someone with a good memory, but she has hundreds, thousands maybe of poems at her disposal wherever she is that she can call forth as a mantra, as whatever. So, and these poems, she said, saved her life. They healed her. Yeah. They nourished her from the inside out. So that's one way.
That's a beautiful example.
It is. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity. Poetry was a big, well, both for Charles as well, writing in general, but I think for Myrtle probably more so that poetry was key part of her prayer. What's that one that we see etched, each moment a pearl a prayer?
Oh, yeah, I don't know that I'm familiar with that one.
I'll
That's
look it up.
beautiful, though.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it.
Maybe I'll put that down there.
Oh, that
It's
was
in the Myrtle
lovely.
Fillmore
There you go,
Grove.
a link
to-
or
to-
something.
Yeah.
to Google. But that idea, prayer, poetry is prayer, and yeah, I mean, think about the prayer for protection. That so many lives, so many people, regardless of what religion they're involved in, if any, that one poem has comforted and touched and kind of expanded consciousness for many.
That's great. One of the things that I explore in this class that I created, but have not delivered, I've only delivered one sample workshop as part of the class requirement.
Okay.
But part of this is that if you look at how we remember nursery rhymes from our childhood, and here we talk about affirmations. And it's like, if you want to have something ingrained in your being, write it like a poem,
Yeah.
right? And there's a way that integrates into your being in a way that just normal prose doesn't.
Right.
So that's a vehicle for affirmations. So just something to think about, yeah.
You talked about a beautiful example of someone reading poems and having them come to life in them and becoming the poem almost. But then in writing a poem is a whole nother approach to the same phenomenon. And when you find words in yourself that have that meaning and that power, or you have an experience, a moment that inspires you, it kind of takes what is fleeting and impermanent and finds the transcendent in it.
Yes.
it brings us into this space of eternity, even though we're here for just a brief flash.
Yeah. And can I actually make a plug right here for
Please
Ben
do.
Neal, because a great poet too who inspires me.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
so yes, talk about knowing about writing poetry.
We can
Yeah.
you can find his stuff on the Elephant Journal.
The Elephant Journal, /author/Ben Neal. Also my blog, sacredlanguage.wordpress.com.
And we did a video of him at a few months ago at the Unity Artists Coalition Forum, where he talked about this very subject. There's 2 videos up for that. Maybe I'll link to the first one.
It's near and dear to my heart, this subject,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Linking.
Definitely. Cool. Very good.
Yeah.
Kind of a mystical link.
So how about more plugs for you? What are you doing?
Oh,
now,
what am I
or-
doing? Oh, okay. Well, I was still thinking about Ben's work. No,
I'm
can
always
I have
thinking
say
about
one more
Ben's
thing
work.
about that?
Yeah.
What is beautiful to me, and ironically, the poetry that I tend to like the most is the one that does this amazing dance of, ironically, by delving deep into our humanity, we expose our divinity. So sometimes poetry can be like, can say lofty things, but doesn't get me there. But ironically, a poem that is about something so tangible, like the way I experience this desk, is what gets me there. You know, it's sort of the depths of our experience bring us to that higher state, if you will. For me, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I see that in your
relate.
poetry. Yeah. So okay.
Beautiful, beautiful.
With that
Yeah.
said, the stuff I'm doing.
Finding our divinity isn't escaping away from our humanity.
Right.
Like
It's
that's beautiful.
entering.
It's fully. Yeah.
I think Carl Jung said it brilliantly when he said, you know, enlightenment doesn't come from imagining figures of light. It comes from making the darkness conscious. And that kind of
Totally.
encompasses it.
Yes.
So teaching poetry and reading and writing poetry is one way that you teach others to pray. What are some other things that you're doing to take others to that place?
Well, I mentioned prayer and meditation earlier. I recently did an affirmative prayer workshop at Unity Spiritual Center of Manhattan, and that was lots of fun. I'm very passionate about prayer. I was a prayer chaplain for 3 years at my home church, and but right now at Unity Church of Overland Park, I am teaching for SEE credit a class called Meditation Practices. And
So
yeah.
you're going over a variety of methods.
Yes, yes, and so it's a very interesting class for me. Number one, I've taught prayer before, but I haven't actually taught in a classroom setting. You know, I've taught one-on-one meditation, but not in a classroom setting. But this class, I mean, its challenge and its gift is that I'm by no means an expert on all these variety, you know, like different forms of meditation. But I think because I'm not, it's created in me a certain humility about how I present the information that I think is actually helping the students really, number one, feel safe. Like, you know, it's not expert telling me, you know, beginner me, what am I supposed to be doing, but whoa, let's explore this together, you know. These are the ways that we can possibly meditate. These are some of the ways. And there is, of course, because it's an SEE class, there is the unity way that we teach, which is centering prayer. And so during the whole class, people are encouraged to practice that as their core practice 20 minutes a day, every day, while also exposing themselves. Like between each class, students are invited to go experiment with 1 or 2 different types of meditation practices that hopefully they've never tried before. So there's a balance of having a practice to work with and then having that openness of exploration, because so often people think, I can't meditate, until they realize, well, I need to do a moving meditation.
Cool.
Yeah.
I do want to put you on the spot. What's the Unity 5-step prayer?
Oh, it's basically relax, concentrate, meditate, realize, and give thanks.
Excellent. And
Yes.
you can remember that with race cars make right turns. Rick Murray.
I'm actually.
Actually, they make left turns if you go around the track, but sometimes it
That's right. Next time I teach my prayer class, I'll remember race car.
Race cars
I'll probably just call you.
What was that
So-
thing that I forgot?
People in the Kansas City area right now could come and join that class?
Yes, it's totally open.
You-
We have a core group that's going through all 5, but each class is open. You can come for just one.
So it's at Unity Church of Overland Park.
Yes, Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights.
7 to 9 p.m.
Cool.
7 to 9
Yes.
p.m.
And call Unity Church of Overland Park?
For more
where?
details about, it's kind of like downstairs in Harmony Hall, room 3. And one thing I want to say about this next one is it's particularly exciting for me because I do less in it. I'm not, because we have like 4 guest speakers.
I can relate to that.
I'm just going to sit back and meditate. But we have amazing guest presenters coming. We have a woman, Malika Lyon, who is a Sufi whirler, who has agreed to do a very brief demonstration.
She gets around.
Sorry.
Bad.
Sorry.
Bad.
Oh my God.
And who else is coming?
Clark Jameson, who has studied with Paramahansa Yogananda for many years.
I know Clark.
Oh, you know Clark, okay. And Professor Robert Brummett.
I know.
Yes, you know. Have you heard of him? And also Unity Minister Reverend Paulette Pipe.
I know her too.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
She's the best.
She's amazing.
They're both the best.
Great
They're all the
human
best.
beings.
Yeah.
You're the best.
So they get to, hello.
Yeah.
How amazing
that's
will that
fantastic
be?
class.
So, do you have a website that you can direct people to for that class or for your work in general? Do you have a
Oh.
website?
Well, I'm
It's
forming
up?
one right now. It's
Okay.
actually published. It is published, and I have my classes listed there, so I suppose people could go there. It's called soulofunity.weebly.com.
Weebly?
WEEBLY.com.
Soulofunity.weebly.
Yes. .com.
.com. Check it out.
Now it's a new. Now you say it's new and just getting up there.
I've just created it.
Are you ready for it to be crashed by the thousands and millions of hits it's going to get from this? Be ready.
Well, I don't
to
have
get
a
some
blog.
traction.
It's a blog, but I don't have a blog that I've written on it yet. But I've set it up with everything else. I just want to pour everything I know to have it just freely available to folks and let people know when I'm going to be doing a talk or when I'm going to be teaching a class. And I've also already linked all of my past
Oh,
books
fantastic.
and classes there. So
Fantastic.
that's the first
Awesome.
step. Yeah,
that's great.
Just starting to put myself out there.
And I want to remind our viewers again of our Facebook page, Sunday Brunch with Ben and Ned. Find us there. We're coming up on that time when we got to wrap things up. Lots of time we end with a lesson that we take away from the show. Have you learned anything in your time here
What did you
today?
learn on the show today? We'll give you
What
a
did
second.
I learn
Yeah,
from talking?
Yeah, from talking, from
Do you need a
being on
second?
camera.
Yes, you go first.
Let's
Ned, what's your take?
let's give it to
To give it to me? Okay. What I learned was that here in KC, we're all extremely fortunate that you plan on sticking around. That's news.
That's a good
that's
one.
news to me,
That's
and
a
I'm
good
glad to hear that you're not going to be moving away on us.
Yeah, well, that's
I can
Have a
go.
long
that's
friendship
sort of my
here
gut,
in
but
KC.
who knows? I'm not, I'm
Mhm.
open. I remain open.
I learned lawyers can be cool. Lawyers can be cool
I'm
and
still
fun.
skeptical.
And I learned that there's still the lawyer in me that wants a rebuttal.
All right.
Hey,
Very
wait a
good.
minute.
Very good.
Thank you.
No, I'll allow that.
Next time.
Next time on the Sunday Brunch.
Absolutely. It's been a great show,
Been a
you
good
two.
show.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Until next time,
Oh, okay.
peace.
Peace.
Peace.